I uh, I opened my Facebook, and one of the first things that was on there, again, it's always like this. Like, I'm not really looking for anything, but something comes, and it's about the types of gaslighting. The name of this person is Dr. Jessica Taylor. Okay. And she said the three types of gaslighting. And I actually have seen her before when I opened up my Facebook. She was talking about when your abuse is being patho- uh, pathology, but it's pathologized. I think that's the correct term. When people try to use your reactions to the abuse to diagnose you, which is essentially what has happened to me, how I ended up with, borderline personality disorder, bipolarity, major depressive disorder. Um, I had ended up with these diagnoses because I did not know that I was being abused. Um, so I want to talk about that. But before I begin, I want to talk about this. Okay. Have you ever looked at the back of a dollar bill, right? There was one year, I think it was the $20 bill. I wish I would have grabbed some cash today. I had planned on grabbing some cash out of the bank, but I changed my mind. Um, on the back of one of the dollar bills, I believe it was the $20 bill. There were people that were talking about the back of the dollar bill. Uh, it looks like there's people there, right? Like it's supposed to be bushes, but it's people. And I had actually said, no, okay, I don't think that's what it is, but let's pay attention to this. Right above, on the back of the bill, there's, I think it's either the 5 or the 20. It's in front of the White House. And right above it, right above the doors or in between the pillars, is a gas light. I found that to be very significant because it's the dollar, the dollar is a gaslight. It's not backed by anything now. You know what I'm saying? It's a gaslight that you even need that, you know? But anyway, let's talk about the what I saw here. Right now it's 10:55. We got a 10:10 here. Okay. Hello to the chat. I try to leave it open, but sometimes it gets a little distracting. So if I get distracted, I'm going to turn it off. All right. So Dr. Jessica Taylor says that the first type of gaslighting is aggressive and less common. Okay, but I've experienced all of these. So we're going to get into it here. Screaming and shouting at you that you are mental, losing it, can't remember, delusional, mentally ill, psychotic and actually meaning it. Then forcing you to go to hospital or doctor or even calling police to say you are a danger to yourself. All right. There's two people that I experienced this with. And the first is uh, Jeremiah's dad, and the next was Aaron's dad. The boys' dads had a tendency to scream and shout at me that I was mental. In fact, when I went to the psych ward the first time, when I got back, I looked up at Kyle's calendar, and he had wrote Ashley's crazy bullshit on the whole week that I was in the hospital. um and when we were going through court for custody for Jeremiah, there was one particular day where he got really mad at me during visitation, and he literally picked up a couch and was screaming at how crazy I was. And I'm the one doing supervised visits. All right. Um and yeah, he did a lot of yelling at me. One time he said that he called the police, but he didn't call the police on me. But we sat outside for about an hour waiting for the police to come because he said I was crazy and he needed me to be removed from his home. And he sat there and he talked to me for a whole hour about my crazy behavior. When actually what happened is that he spit at me and I slapped him. I wish I knew what I know now because spitting at someone is actually a misdemeanor now. And I could have got him arrested for that. But yeah. Uh, so, second, the second one she said is more common. All right. It says abusing you, but then becoming very nice, kind, sweet, apologetic, introducing the narrative that maybe you need to get some help, that they are concerned about your mental health. They mention it to your family and friends. They twist everything so you question your own memory or events and you begin to believe them. You might go to doctors willingly with them, but with them by your side to ask for help for your mental health. They play the loving partner while still abusing you. Um, Assaulting you and escalating behind closed doors. Um, Now this is what Keith did. Uh, I had just got done watching Wilfred for the first time, the full thing. And as I have said a couple times now, Wilfred is dialectical behavioral therapy in media. The last line of the show, they said they left their book with Jimmy Fowler. And I looked up James Fowler. Some told me to look up James, not Jimmy. And Jimmy Fowler, give me just a second. Um, he was a professor of theology and human development. And he wrote a book about, what is this theory? Stages of faith development is a theory that outlines a framework for understanding how individuals develop their faith and spirituality throughout their lives. And the show literally walks you through that. Um, and so upon watching the show, I kind of had a epiphany and I reached out to Natanya's father and he knew what he was doing the whole time and he drove me to my therapist. It's documented. The same therapist that also documented that he was stalking me. Yep. So that is the second type of gaslighting that I experienced. Okay. And the last one, she says, is less common but extremely dangerous. Okay. That's three. It says knowing. That's all it says is knowing. Okay. Usually the abuser is a professional. Okay. A therapist, a lawyer, police officer, doctor, psychiatrist, or psychologist, or social worker. And they know the system well. They understand that they are abusive and know you will ruin their career if anyone ever believes you. And they spend their time convincing you that you have mental health issues and childhood attachment issues, convince you to take more medications. They talk to professionals behind your back and convince them that you are extremely unstable and they are effectively your carer. Um, they always present themselves as concerned and caring, very rarely, if ever, breaking character. And everyone believes them whilst you become more traumatized and marginalized, often resulting in being sectioned and forced psychiatric meds or etc. Okay. Lots of abusers use pathologization. There we go. As a tactic. Okay. And she says, follow this account to learn more about how your trauma or abuse was pathologized. Okay, I could say that word, but I can't say pathologization as well as the other. But this is my mother. My mom is a she has a psychology degree. Okay. And what she likes to do is she likes to tell people that she doesn't even believe in psychology and that psychology was used to disprove God. Yep. And I told her, no. In fact, it shows us how intricately we are made. And I believe it only enforces that there is a God and a spiritual realm, and that psychology simply just tells you what's going on in the physical realm, what's manifested in the physical realm as a result of the spiritual. That's my belief. And so she's done this. Um, she has repeatedly, you know, when I first started talking to her, and I would get enraged or I get upset, which just a reminder, your anger is it's a signal. It lets you know something's going on. Your boundaries aren't being, upheld. You're being disrespected. You're not being heard. Anger is a signal, but what she would try to tell me is that my anger is a sign that I need more therapy. Yeah, I need to heal. hmm and she's not going to help me until I go to therapy, you know. Um, and then once I went to therapy, okay, because I had already been to therapy. Before I got here, I had already been cleared by a therapist. I had been cleared by a trauma therapist through, hold on, we, Kathy. Kathy is, dang, all I have is that's their name, but it's for something else. Community advocates for family and youth. It's a victims for empowered survivors, okay, who hold their offenders accountable. Okay. Um, so I had already been cleared and I had already been told that I was well, that I just have PTSD. That was the first time that I had been cleared. So when I got here, and as things were going badly, very badly, um, car not working, finances are randomly just destroyed, demolished. I lost everything I owned, including heirlooms and, things that I saved for my children in the future, and books from childhood, pictures of my son that I will never get back, pictures of my daughter I will never get back. Lost everything. I am now in a state of frustration and I'm expressing this to her. And she tells me I need to go to therapy. This anger, this look, let's listen to how you're yelling at me. No, 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 you need to go to therapy, but I don't believe in therapy. Even though I have a psychology degree. She's been doing this here. Okay. And so I went to therapy again, and they told me again, yeah, all you got is PTSD. And chances are you probably never had any of those other things. And if you did, you definitely healed it if you did have it. But chances are you probably never had it, based on what you're telling us here, you know. Once I told her that, and then she says, no, you need to go to a faith based therapist. These are the kinds of gaslighting. Uh, these are the types of gaslighting. Um, to pathologize the trauma. to make it more about your mental health than it is about the trauma. In fact, I've said, and I believe it to be wholly true that the DSM-5, okay, this is going to be controversial. The DSM-5 is pseudoscience, because all mental illnesses are a result of trauma. They have simply given a name to the effects of trauma, which, in my opinion, okay, not a professional, but in my opinion, um, most traumas are spell work or witchcraft. That's all there is. The power of your tongue, life and death in the tongue, do not curse your neighbor. They were literally talking about don't do roots on your neighbor. That's all that there is. So when you traumatize someone and you do things in a ritualistic way, it's witchcraft. And so then you are then again, this is hold on. Let me get it. This is demonology in psychology, the historical belief that abnormal behavior, mental illness, or criminal acts are caused by supernatural forces, specifically evil spirits or demons possessing a person. Okay. It's non scientific. Okay. Because science is physical. Okay. This is what's happening on the spiritual, and it manifests in science, in the psychology, in your mind. So, that's my personal belief that psychology is a pseudoscience because they're only studying your reactions. Okay, you're not getting enough attention. You're being neglected, so now you're doing Munchausen's and Munchausen's by proxy. Um, and now you're a hypochondriac to get specifically. I brought up hypochondriac because that's what my grandmother is on my mother's side. It's a way to harvest energy. Okay, nobody pays attention to grandma until grandma's in the hospital. Now everybody's visiting grandma, right? Um, this came across my mind. You may know, but you might not. Okay, sister, you come across my mind all the time, Asia, specifically. You come across my mind all the time. All the time. I do not know why. You may be thinking of me because of all my siblings, I think you're the only one that loved me. I think you're the only one that loved me and you genuinely thought that you were trying to help. Okay. Did you know that Grandma Ruth's father, okay, so Kathy's grandfather, was a voodoo high priest? His name was Masan Davis. You don't think they don't know anything about this shit? I'm just throwing that out there. I'm starting to use names a lot more lately. I've gotten real loose with the concealing of identities because at this point, you guys, I'm just one. It's hard to keep track of what I call you when I do call you some kind of alias. Two, you need to know I'm talking to you. At this point, I'm not afraid of you or what you can do to me. So, Asia, did you know? Something tells me that you did, though. But did you know that Kathy's grandfather was a voodoo high priest by the name of Masan Davis? what grandma does is a form of witchcraft. I don't even know, I haven't talked to anybody. I don't even know if she's alive. And that's sad because if she passed away and I don't know about it, that would really hurt me because I was in love with her, but neither here or there. What I'm saying to you is that the DSM-5 is a gaslight. It is the pathologization of trauma. It doesn't stop the trauma. It just labels it. Someone that's helped me with that is somebody who I've talked about a couple times. Tashandra Govin is doing an excellent job. Shout out to you for real. Shout out to you for real. But I just wanted to talk about that. That was the first thing that I saw today when I opened up Facebook at what time? Today at 10:59 a.m. All right. So just want to talk about my experience with that. Let's move on really quick because the next one is something I saw. I think I saw this yesterday. Aaron, get in bed and mind your business. Oh no, actually this is the first thing I saw today at 10:56 a.m. I do not have the poster's name. I do not know why. I do not know why. It looks like it doesn't it doesn't have a full name. It just says mental health with. Um, but this is examples of reactive abuse you must know. This is very important, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very important, okay? Because someone somewhere is experiencing this. 22:33. Somebody somewhere is experiencing this and you are observing, okay? And you do not know what a reactive abuse is. If you don't know, it's okay. I do have a few videos about it. I think I have 3 in total. It was like a little series, okay? Before we get into that, it says 22:33 is a powerful sign of divine support, indicating you are on the right path and that your efforts in personal growth and manifestation are supported. Okay. So, it signifies a need for balance and creative expression to bring harmony to your life and relationships, urging you to trust your intuition and abilities. All right. So that was a good one. All right. But let's talk about this. Examples of reactive abuse you must know. I want to apologize to the original poster. I did not get your full name, so I can't give you a full shout out. Okay. But it's important to get this information out there because somebody somewhere is being observed and they're being, seen as the aggressor right now. Okay. You need to know what the examples of reactive abuse are. Number 1, which is actually something that I have talked about. I just talked about it yesterday. Yelling after prolonged provocation. Okay. This has been done with so many people. In fact, I just talked about it. I just talked about it in this fucking video. I didn't just talk about it yesterday. I just talked about it in this damn video. Okay, look. Yelling after prolonged provocation, you stay calm for weeks or months while being mocked, blamed, or dismissed. Then one day you snap and raise your voice. The reaction is later used as proof that you're the abusive one, okay? I'm not doing this to advocate for myself. At this point, I'm pretty sure, like 100% sure, that people are aware in my case, but we still have other people to help. All right. So just so you know, this isn't about me. It's never about me. But I can give you examples, right? So this happened with Natanya's dad like all the time, all the time. It happened with Jeremiah's dad too, but it's so long ago now that there's really no reason to really bring him up. But in terms of Netanya, um, there was one particular time. It's not one particular time; it's many times, and sometimes it's done in text. Right? I asked this dude, "Hey, can you make sure that you bring her clothes over?" Okay, because what he would do is she'd be at his house for like a day, literally a day, and he would take her clothes that she wore there and keep them. Okay, so I asked, "Hey, can you bring her clothes back, please?" All right. A couple weeks goes by. Hey, can you bring her clothes back, please? Because again, he doesn't buy anything anyway. In fact, anything that was bought by me or his girlfriend. So don't do that. Please stop taking her clothes. I'm the only one providing this shit. I also, I I provided everything, his car seat, toys that were over there, clothes that were over there. I made sure that she had everything that she needed over there already. So please, just when she's wearing clothes, send those clothes back. All right. Because they're coordinated and not like, did the kids match up sometimes? Yes. But most of the time, what it was I'm very in tune with what they like. They all have their own personal style, okay? And she had gotten into this show called Gravity Falls, which is actually one of Jeremiah's favorite shows. She got into it, and the character Mabel had a whole bunch of different types of sweaters that she wore, and Natty loved them. And so we had fashioned some of her things to be like Mabel. All right. So she had this sweater. I will never forget it. She had this sweater that was a rainbow sweater, and I could not find it. And I'm like, okay, he must have it. Can you bring her clothes back? I asked 4 times, okay, over the course of 2 months. Can you bring her clothes back? Bring her clothes back. Bring her clothes back. Finally, I snapped. Listen, there is no reason for you to have a month worth of clothes over there when she stays the night 1 day a week, 1 day a week. Bring her fucking clothes back. I work really hard to curate and coordinate her clothing. She's got a favorite sweater that's missing. Bring it back. And I said something like, and I send clothes over there for you. And, I send your stuff back. Because the reason I would send their things back is because it didn't fit what had going on in my house, okay? They would buy things that were only white girls. And him specifically, I think he was doing this on purpose because he knew that I was very much about representation. It's not that I don't like white girls or white people. I was just, the way I was functioning at the time was representation. Her dolls are black, her toys are black. Making sure that her clothes, if she had clothes, the girls on it were black. So a lot of the times he would send things over that were only white girls, no black girls on it at all. Send it back. She can wear it at your house. It wasn't like she's not allowed to wear it or anything like that. Just keep that over there because I have something going on over here that I'm trying to, even like what she watched on YouTube, the family channels, she can only watch the black channels. She can't watch the white channels because then one day she tried to say she wanted to be white. So I was very much just trying to enrich her with representation. It wasn't about like your girlfriend bought this so she can't wear it. It was your girlfriend bought this and it doesn't fit what we got going on here. She can wear it at your house. You don't even buy anything. So I went off on him and this turned into, I hate him. I hate him. Okay. Insulting them after constantly belittling. Okay. After repeated name calling, sarcasm, or humiliation, you finally fire back with an insult and they ignore everything that led up to it and focus only on your response. This is hilarious because I just was talking about how I called G a bitch after he didn't really call me out my name or anything, but there was tons of sarcasm and humiliation. There was tons of that, you know. But this also happened with Natanya's dad. There was one particular incident where because what he would like to do is say shit like he don't answer the phone, he don't want to talk to me. He's not going to answer the phone because he can't stand my voice. Right. And there was one particular day where I had to pick her up at 3. I called several times before 3. First thing he did was, why are you blowing up my phone? I told you not to blow up my phone. It's like, well, it's an emergency. I need to pick her up early because I need to make her errand. And well, I didn't want to talk to you. I didn't want to hear your voice. And I called him a lying a lying bitch, I think. I called him a bitch. I'm very okay. I can admit that the first thing I will say to a man is call him a bitch. Okay, I'll admit that, but it's always after this bullshit here, right? Um, so he didn't want to answer the phone, and now look, now you're late, and it's like I tried to call you before I left. Here's a picture. I'm showing you exactly what I'm doing, and what I was doing was that I had started my period and I needed to borrow money from somebody to get pads. And he was telling me like, well, you could have just got pads at my house. Well, no, I couldn't because you didn't answer the phone, you fucking bitch. Because you don't want to hear my voice. It's funny how sometimes I can remember these things like they were yesterday, but it's ultimately just rumination, and like, flashbacks because this shit is traumatizing. 3, slamming doors or throwing objects, not at them. Okay. You're emotionally overwhelmed from ongoing manipulation and gaslighting, and you release anger physically, slamming a door or tossing something harmless. This is framed as violent behavior. And I've spoken on this before when I go into therapy and say, I threw something, and I didn't throw it at anybody, but I did throw something. There was one time he claims that I slammed his car door. And because I slammed his car door, there was some type of punishment that came with that. I can't remember what it was. But I just remember I didn't slam the door. What happened is when I closed the door, there was a piece of paper sitting on the seat. Okay. And when I closed the car door, the paper flew off and he said, you slammed my car door and the paper flew. And I didn't. Wind makes paper fly. And so I'm like arguing with him, like, I didn't slam the car door. I didn't do that. I didn't, you know? Crying hysterically. Number 4, crying hysterically after emotional neglect. You've been stonewalled, ignored, or punished with silence for days. When you finally break down crying, they label you unstable or too much. I remember a reader, you know, talking about how this person they want to choose you. You're the clingy person. They want to choose you, and you like crying on their fucking voicemail, and they want to hear you crying on you want them to listen to you crying on the voicemail. Nope, that's not what was happening there. It was this shit right here. Crying hysterically on his voicemail. Please. I don't know why you won't. Oh, God, you guys are so fucking humiliating. Number 5, defending yourself aggressively after false accusations. Okay. You're repeatedly accused of cheating, lying, or being selfish. When you passionately defend yourself, your intensity becomes the focus instead of the false accusations. That was going on for a really long time. And not from the people that were abusing me, the people, saying things like, you're healed when you don't defend yourself anymore. Why are you defending yourself if you didn't do it? That shit, you know? Nobody's listening. They're just, mm, why? Because it's false. Whatever these people are saying is false. Well, it must be true. What do you have to defend yourself for? reactive abuse, defending yourself aggressively after accusation. It's very important because reactive abuse has everything to do with gaslighting. Everything to do with gaslighting. Everything to do with gaslighting. I didn't really intend on reading this, and I just realized it's part of the lesson, the gaslighting lesson. Okay. So, um, number 6, threatening to leave after being controlled. Okay. This is a very common thing for people with uh, anxious attachment. A lot of people say, it's manipulative when you start saying you're going to leave, you're going to leave, you're going to leave. Anxious attached people do this, and I'll tell you why. Because I've told you before, anxious attachment is like a step below borderline, but avoidant is a step below narcissistic. Narcissistic people are more abusive, dismissive. They're the ones that stonewall. They're the ones that ignore. They're the ones that punish with silence. That's what avoidants do. So when an anxious and an avoidant come together and they'll get stonewalled and they'll start doing shit like, okay, listen, I'm leaving. Okay. After ongoing control, monitoring, or restriction, you finally say, I can't do this anymore. I'm leaving. And they twist this into abandonment or emotional blackmail. I just said it. I said it before I even read it. They try to say you're manipulating them, threatening them with leaving. But they're the ones fucking leaving you first. The minute they stonewall and they get quiet to control you. Okay? They want to control how you react to their behavior. Okay? They want to control how many questions you ask. They want to control certain things around you. And so your first reaction is, I'm leaving. I'm done. To the left, to the left. Everything you own in a box to the left. Get out of my shit. Get out of my face. They'll try to say that you're manipulating. You're emotionally blackmailing. You're constantly leaving me. But they left first when they stonewalled, ignored, or punished with silence for days. Okay. Number 7, using harsh words after being gaslit. Okay. When your reality is denied over and over, that never happened. You're imagining things. You're making shit up. You're delusional. You're crazy. Okay. Just so you know, I read that whole text thread to my therapist and she said, you're not crazy. But anyway, you lash out verbally out of sheer frustration and your words are then isolated and weaponized. Okay. Using harsh words. It's just crazy how these things come together because I looked at this shit today, this morning. It came up in my algorithm on Facebook. Okay. Again, I don't scroll Facebook. All right. First thing I see when I open it up is these two things here. Okay. The conversation I had yesterday about my words being twisted, my words being used as insults. They're harsh, but they're the truth. Excuse me. And the words are then isolated and weaponized. Oh, she's so hard to deal with. I cannot deal with this girl. She lashes out all the fucking time after I called her crazy. They forgot about that part. No, they don't want to tell people they call me crazy. And then I just like flipped out because why are you calling me crazy? All right. And again, I'm just giving you my experiences with it. I'm not trying to clear myself. This is somebody out there right now. You're watching my video and you know somebody that's going through this and you need to get to their aid immediately. When you see that somebody is doing this stuff here, it may be you. You may be doing this shit and thinking there's something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. You are experiencing reactive abuse. You or you know someone that is experiencing reactive abuse. Get to them immediately. Get to their aid. All right. So the last one is pulling away emotionally after repeated boundary violations. You shut down, go quiet, or detach to protect yourself. And they accuse you of being cold, cruel, or it got cut off. Cold, cruel, or emotionally abusive, ignoring why you withdrew. This is my whole damn family. Okay. My whole damn family. This is Aaron's dad. Aaron's dad in whew, child support court. We're on the phone and I'm speaking quiet because the only person I really need to speak to is the person delegating. I don't need to speak to him. And he's like, speak up. I can't hear you. I'm like, I'm not speaking up. You don't need to hear shit. And he's like, I just want to know how to see my son. She's been gone for 5 years. I just want to know how to see my son. She won't even tell me what's wrong. It's like, bro, we got a whole domestic violence case out in Maryland. Like, what? She's just keeping me from my son. The fuck? Your son is in therapy, telling them everything that he remembers. He remembers. That should be burning me up because he was 2 years old and he remembers. And you know, sometimes I would question, like, is this real? Does he can't remember? But I remember things from like 3 years old. I don't know how old I was for some stuff. I know I had to have been like 2 or 3 years old because of the house that we were living in at the time. And it's like, it must be real because if I can remember stuff, I can't say he doesn't remember, you know? And I'm not telling him to say anything. Like, he'll just randomly come up to me and tell me something. And he'll be like, I'm sorry I didn't tell you before. I didn't want you to be sad. You know, stop protecting me and just get it out, boy. Tell me what you need to say. He remembers. And he actively makes the choice not to fuck with you. But you know, oh, she's controlling. She's just being cruel. She won't let me see my son. Oh, my son. I just want to see my son. I just want to pick him up. Number 9, recording, screenshotting, or seeking witnesses. Okay. After being constantly lied about, you start documenting interactions to protect yourself, and this is framed as obsessive, paranoid, or manipulative. Okay. Here's the thing about this one, right? Because the abusers do the same thing. But for some reason, when the abusers do it, they're not considered abusive, paranoid, or manipulative. And they do it in a way in which it doesn't show everything. It's just like little skews of it skews, you know, they show you one thing and you're like, oh yeah, that's really bad. And then I got like the whole fucking thread, and for some reason, what do you do that for? 4334 is a message of divine support, stability, and encouragement to trust your path. Signifies that your hard work, guided by wisdom and inner strength, is aligning you with your soul's purpose, and this number often appears to encourage building a solid foundation for your future and fostering balance in your life. Okay, so number 10, finally reacting in public. Okay. They push your buttons privately, but stay calm in public. And when you finally react in front of others, you look like the problem. And that's exactly the setup. Okay. Important truth: reactive abuse is a response to abuse, not the proof of it, or the root of it. And your reaction does not erase the pattern that caused it. Number 10, finally reacting in public. I'm going to use my neighbor as an example because my neighbor, okay, we got into a disagreement in July, I believe it was either June or July. And my therapist, not my therapist, my nurse practitioner, okay, she actually decided that the medication I chose to be on this medication because I wanted to quit smoking. Um, it's Wellbutrin, okay, and she had actually warned me, well, I'll let you do it, but I think it might make you aggressive, so watch out for that. And this lady, this neighbor, I've already talked about her, but we're gonna just bring her up again. Um, she had been bullying my son. And I brought it up to her a couple times, and this time she did it in front of me, and I finally went off, and she was telling everybody, "Look how crazy she is! You crazy motherfucker! You crazy!" You know. Um, and somebody called the police on me. Okay, there's a record of that. Also, this would happen. You know, the specific scenario I think I've talked on before too is like Natanya's dad being late all the time. He wasn't technically late, but he was. He had a wait time of 30 minutes, and he would, show up at 13, 13, 13, 6:13 like every day, and then the one day that I don't show up at 6:02, he's going to leave, you know, and tell everybody I'm being disruptive and shit like that, and I'm, doing shit. So one particular day, he said he was going to be there at 5:30. He didn't show up till 6:30. Didn't even communicate that he was going to be late. Actually, that this particular day was a weird day because G is involved in that. Me and G were supposed to go on a date that day, like our only date that we were ever going to go on. Never happened. And then the reason is because three reasons. Okay. My sister was supposed to pick up Aaron. She did not show up. Keith was supposed to pick up Natanya at 5:30. He did not show up till 6:30. And G didn't show up. He texted me like, at 9, like my dad came over. Excuses, all these fucking excuses. All right. So all three of them collaborated to make sure this date didn't happen, right? But that particular day, he showed up with his girlfriend at 6:30, and I'm pissed. But I'm not pissed because the girl is there. This is what they try to make it look like. This is what he tried to make it look like. I'm sure she didn't know that he told me he was going to be there at 5:30. I'm sure she didn't know that he didn't communicate with me that he was showing up at 6:30. And so it looks like I'm mad about her. Somebody out there, you need to hear this. These are the tactics, 10 tactics for reactive abuse. I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Good night.